Hi everyone, welcome to week 10 of our Composition 1 class. Hopefully you found a good question to research for writing Project 3, a question that truly intrigues you. This week we're going to start exploring your questions by finding sources, including sources from the Columbus State Library databases. You'll learn more about researching as we work through some of the tasks this week. But on this page, you can see some additional tools for research assistance. You can email a librarian using this email address here. You can call a librarian. You can take a look at the library's YouTube channel. And there is also a library guide on the research process as well. Lots of resources available to you. It's just a matter of finding the ones that work well for you. Task 10.1, as usual, you have some readings to do. First of all, take a look at Chapter 47, getting a start on a research plan. Next, Chapter 48, finding sources. Chapter 49, evaluating sources. And Chapter 50, synthesizing ideas. For task 10.2a, you're going to learn how to find sources to explore your research question. The types of sources you'll use will depend in part on what your question is. In other words, you'll need to ask yourself, what kinds of information will help me explore my particular research question? Maybe you'll need scientific data. Maybe you'll need articles written by scholars or by lay people. Maybe you'll need to interview someone or create a survey. The Norton Field Guide chapters assigned for this week provide general information to help you find or use all kinds of sources. For now, though, try to focus on what the field guide calls periodical sources. A periodical is a newspaper, magazine, or journal, something that is published periodically. Remember that Writing Project 3 calls for you to use at least 2 periodical sources in your paper. But you may want to start by searching for even more so that you can choose the best ones for your purposes. In other words, it may not be a good idea to use the very first couple of sources that you come upon. You may be able to find better sources if you spend a little bit more time digging. To find periodicals, a good place to start is with a database called Academic Search Complete, which is available through our campus library. There's a video here, task 10.2b, about using databases. And then task 10.2c is learning how to do a basic database search. And as a side note, in the past, I've made some of my own videos with tips about how to use the library research resources. So I will likely include links to those videos as well. My videos don't necessarily include any information that isn't already stated in these videos, but it's kind of just my own thoughts on the process. It's the things that I do when I conduct research. And in the past, students have found those videos helpful. For task 10.2d, you're going to actually find your sources. Now that you've looked at those videos, spend some time on Academic Search Complete and try to find some periodical sources that would work well for your project. Try to find a minimum of 6 sources that might be useful to you. My recommendation is to save those sources in some way so that you can find them more easily later on. They have a tool in the library website where you can kind of reserve articles or like save articles for later. I would look into that. You can also copy down the DOI, the article's digital object identifier, which functions as a permanent way to locate that source. If you feel like you're not finding anything useful in Academic Search Complete, you could try using some of the library's other databases, which are available here. And you can also use Google, of course. But keep in mind that You need to use respectable sources. You need to use at least a couple of periodicals. Um, so the library is maybe a little bit of a better place to find more credible sources than Google. But that's not to say that there aren't plenty of perfectly fine sources available on Google as well. For task 10.3, you're going to make your Wednesday discussion post. For your posts, answer the following. Post any hints you've discovered for using Academic Search Complete or other library databases. Also, post questions you have about using those databases. Task 10.4 is evaluating and thinking about your sources. Now that you've found some, please read and annotate those sources carefully. Doing so will help you immerse yourself in the research. The following tips for reading sources in the assigned, or I should say, follow the tips for reading sources that were assigned in the field guide chapters from earlier on in our weekly module. You might consider using an online tool like Scribble or PowerNotes to collect, annotate, and organize your sources as well. After you've read and annotated at least 6 sources, please write out responses to the following prompts. Number 1, write out the research question you've decided to pursue. 2, list each useful source you found and include the author, title, name of the publication, and the date of publication. And under each source, explain the following: how you found the source, what makes it credible, what makes it relevant, and how the source might help you answer your research question. For number 3, list at least one source you found that you ultimately decided not to use because you didn't find it, interesting or useful or what have you, and explain why you decided not to use that source. For number 4, list at least one source that may be useful but you are currently unsure about and explain why. For number 5, consider what's missing. What do you still need or want to find out about your topic? What new directions have these initial sources pointed you in? For number 6, consider whether there are other types of sources that you could explore. For instance, is there someone you could interview? Would it help to distribute a survey or a questionnaire? Are there any videos that you could potentially watch? What are other avenues of research that you haven't explored yet? Finally, for number 7, consider how you may need or want to tweak your research question a bit. It's perfectly fine to alter a research question as you do more research. You'll find that you may need to make your question a little bit broader or more narrower, more specific in a particular way. Or maybe you've just decided to go in a completely direction entirely. If so, how are you rephrasing your question, or what new research questions are you going to pursue? For task 10.5, read some sample student projects. You can take a look at sample writing project 3s in the week 12 student success gallery. Task 10.6 is making your Friday discussion board post. After reading through some student samples mentioned in the previous task, write about what you see as the strengths and weaknesses of the papers. In other words, what specifically are the students doing well, and what could they improve on? In addition to that, please write a reply to at least 2 of your classmates' posts for the week. How did their tips for searching databases help you? Can you provide further tips to help your peers? How did your peers' discussion of the sample papers compare to yours? Lastly, you're going to submit all of the writing that you completed in response to task 10.4, which is the task that had you evaluating your sources. That is all for this week. If you have any questions for me, if you need any help with your topic or conducting research, please be sure to let me know and I will help you out the best that I can.